everybody jumps onto things. Judgment is immediate. Media trials happen before real trials, and real trials don't happen ever.
I'd almost become accustomed to sitting in a theatre for an Anurag Kashyap movie where there is little to no interest from the audience. After years, probably after Man Marziya in 2018, I sat in the opening weekend for an Anurag Kashyap movie in a semi-packed theatre, and nothing makes me more giddy with joy to see patronage for films beyond the mainstream. Bandar is a movie that Kashyap has travelled with since 2025, having premiered in the Toronto Film Festival, and usually there is a gap between Kashyap movies featuring in these festivals and finally getting theatrical distribution in India. While having gone through their own struggles in getting shows allotted in national chains, we are finally here where Bandar has got a full-fledged release in India. The movie is quite divisive and its themes are going to generate a lot of discussions online. As I talk about the film, you'll exactly realize why. Bandar focuses on Samar Mehra, played by Bobby Deol, who is a has-been pop star, holding on to the fleeting cloud of relevance. He is a horn dog who doesn't stop swiping or leching at women while waiting for his own girlfriend on a date. He is dealing with financial stress and an audience and industry that only references his one hit that released decades ago. On a random night, the police come knocking on Samar's door to tell him that an FIR has been filed against him by a girl that he went out on a date with. The accusation is of and how Samar's life becomes a living hell is the premise of Bandar. A court procedural, a tale of survival in the restricted and densely populated filthy jails, a commentary on media trials and the broken nature of law and order in this country are several of the themes this extremely impactful film sheds light on. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Bandar in theatres or not. The underwhelming aspects. The censor board and lack of animosity. I've spoken about this multiple times, but why is it that the official body for censoring films in India assumes that adults are intellectually incompetent to process adult themes? This is not censorship out of concern of the impact content may cause. It is censorship because the bodies assume adults in this country are fools and incapable to see what we are anyway subject to in real life and social media. Just like Dhurandhar and many other movies, I was getting irritated by the decision made by the CBFC regarding the censorship of selective profanity in this movie. I'm absolutely blown away by what gets passed in movies and what is considered to be problematic. How is it that I can see animals dry humping characters in Masti 4, I can see a man in Marco take out an unborn fetus out of a pregnant woman and kill it, but where we draw the line, I mean, you are censoring a girl's head turning into pulp in Obsession, but it's okay when Uzair Baloch is kicking a head randomly in Liari? I don't understand this. Why are we deleting words like bastard from subtitles? It's okay that we on the big screen have the chest of a female actress covering the entire frame as the hero just leches at her with the most creepy expressions, but where we draw the line? Anyway, the muted words breaking the flow of dialogues continues with this movie as well. The only stumbling block beyond the censorship of words, you should be glad that there are zero cuts visually, was the adaptability of Bobby Deol in the jail to the specific gang. In order to survive, one has to identify which group they want to align with for mere survival. This is not only the case of survival actually, it's, well, so that you don't get or even being fed literally. And I believe the battle between a group of accused and another gang wasn't as palpable as I would have liked. The gang segregate and don't talk to one another, they hate each other's guts, but the decision for a new entrant like Bobby to align with one gang is not met with as much hell as I would have envisioned from the rival gang. It's almost like a darn it situation that he sits with Indrajit Sukumaran's gang, and when I look back at a series like Criminal Justice or even something like Saptasagar Dache Yellow, the quest for survival itself in the jail was absolutely horrifying based on how the characters align themselves. I get that he essentially is an asset for what he can provide monetarily, but beyond the initial dehumanizing element of entering the jail from his rosy cushioned life, I felt like Summer assimilated, blended and was well protected with the gang with only brief resistance from the rivals. This is a very minor stumbling block for me personally for an otherwise almost flawless film. The good. Cinematography and atmosphere. When you see an Anurag Kashyap movie set in Mumbai, it genuinely feels like a tale told by a man who knows the city in and out. A person who has lived through the varied complexities this city has to offer. The close proximity of filth and luxury and how one carries on with their horse blinkers on, only concerned about their own survival. The cinematography by Saeed Shahz Rizvi and the production design by Prashant Bitkar, especially the design of the jail, where humans are packed like sardines over each other, deserves all the praise. You genuinely feel claustrophobic claustrophobic while seeing the jail sequences from this movie. There are several shots of fecal matter and filth. The camera pans over the entire enclosure as the inmates sleep on top of each other, having accepted this as their reality for the near future. The same stench that one was getting repulsed by over a period of time becomes something that one is desensitized to. What I found very interesting, and this is a theme explored throughout the film, is that the relevance of a person dictates how they are treated, and it oscillates dependent on whether you are in public or behind bars. The police treat Summer like an ornament for clout. A police officer harasses him while taking him to jail by shoving his phone in his face while FaceTiming his wife. His innocence and guilt is immaterial. He is their new toy to play with, but in the confines of the jail, he is an asset. For the monetary value he can bring, flipped and tossed around from gang to gang, trapped due to his own popularity in the real world, and while surrounded by savages in jail too. There is no escaping. There is an entire song dedicated to it, that all the elements of this life are merely a cage. You see this wear down on the character of Summer. The light in his eyes slowly fade. The projection of confidence transitions to acceptance of his fate. A loser now, vulnerable to the whims and fancies of the animals that surround him. It's actually triggering how helpless, weak and trapped Summer feels, and a lot of it has to do with how visually the film presents its tale, always associated with tight spaces of filth. This is life now for the near future. Themes. While I was interacting with Anurag Kashyap, he had said that all art is political, and when art is not political, then it has no sense of relevance in society. By political, I don't mean something aimed at the government, but something relevant to say regarding what we are experiencing as a society, and Bandar touches upon several themes in such an unapologetic fashion that I came to the conclusion that we need Kashyap as a filmmaker in this landscape, for there are so few left like him. Think about the perfect casting choice here with Bobby Deol, a has-been pop star who is dealing with crippling irrelevance and anxiety on where to get his next paycheck from. Bobby Deol has often spoken about the dark days he sat at home with no work, consuming himself with alcohol, the pitiful image that he became, embarrassed to even face his own children. And Summer is a once heartthrob who is living on the coattails of his one hit. He despises the very thought of doing television. It showcases the arrogance of artists and the condescending nature with which they look at other mediums of storytelling. An artist is willing to be unemployed for 5 years but not do television. This irrelevance is highlighted on how the paps don't even notice him when he steps outside the airport, and how even the police treat him. The case of media trials in this movie is one of the most triggering. Individuals coming to their own conclusions even before trials have commenced. The disturbing element being the same perception through headlines and social media, impacting not just regular citizens, but those in positions of authority. A judge and his perception of the film industry and the jargon he spills immediately brought me flashbacks to the frenzy the Indian media space was in 6 years ago. Out of context conversations, sensationalized and ridiculous judgments, and there being little to no room for redemption in the modern age, for you have been judged and scrutinized already in the public eye. Guilty until proven innocent, and even if you have been proven innocent, the damage is already done. The way Summer is a mere bystander to the madness, completely helpless to the chaos, was exceptionally portrayed in this film. Scenes and performances. There are moments that genuinely stayed with me after stepping out of the theatre, and it has a lot to do with the writing by Sudeep Sharma and Abhishek Banerjee and the performances of the ensemble cast. I've come to the conclusion now that Anurag Kashyap has mastered the art of citizens explaining basic smartphone features to corrupt police officers. We saw the frustrating sequence in Ugly, and here we get Bobby Deol trying to explain dating apps to a cop, exceptionally played by Jitendra Joshi. I can't tell you the amount of rage I felt while sitting through the scene as Summer, played by Bobby Deol, is trying to stay as calm as possible. Sapna Pabi, playing the role of the girl who accuses Summer, looks absolutely beautiful, and you see this ethereal exterior slowly crumble as things don't go her way. Sabah Azad, playing Summer's girlfriend, is an observer to the chaos and commendable in her brief role. The inmates that include Indrajit Sukumaran, the leader of one of the gangs, and the zany, poetic and wild nutjob played by Raj B. Shetty, are absolutely brilliant in the film. The sequences, however, that stood out for me were the scenes shared between Bobby Deol and Sania Malhotra, who plays the role of his sister. You see a frustrated sister doing everything in her might to save her brother despite the judgments outside. You see a hopeful Summer in the initial interaction slowly crumble, breaking down, absolutely mortified that this has become his reality, to beg for humanity and some money to merely survive in the wild inside. Bobby Deol is so exceptional in this scene where he is uncontrollably breaking down, weeping, mumbling through his dialogues, that I had to conclude that this is hands down his best performance of his career. Sania lends such brilliant support that I just had to raise my hands and say that this ensemble has absolutely hit it out of the park. There is controversy or divisiveness with this film only because one is irritated by the fact that the movie did not go the way they wanted or did not shed light on something that they would have already set their minds on. The rarity of a case or a situation does not lend itself not worthy to be told. And I must reference one of my favorite court procedurals. If you have seen Section 375 with Akshay Khanna and Richa Chadda, one of my biggest gripes with that movie was on how it provided clarity with its conclusion, on how it created a clear distinction between the good and bad guy. Whereas in Bandar, the conclusion is much more nuanced than that. It's disturbing, it's triggering, it's a reflection on cancel culture, on the ruthless moral court of social media for humans cannot make mistakes, and how the spirit eventually breaks in such an unforgiving environment. Beyond the effective themes and storyline, if one is to see evolution of an actor genuinely embracing the art form, Bobby Deol's career for close to 3 decades needs to be studied. Not merely artistically, but a lesson in life too. A perseverance to keep going that we should all strive for. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Bandar. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handles are right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.